soul. Please shout.
Hare Krishna, devotees. Welcome to you, Jem. Nice to see all of you here. Welcome, Sia, Ritvik, Sahasra, Lokesh. Thank you all for joining. If you're able to, um, please turn your camera on. And I think we have a smaller group today, but we'll still make it fun. And maybe people will trickle in later on. But just starting off with, maybe we'll start with a prayer. So I've sent the prayer format in the chat. If you'd like to nominate someone to make a prayer, please do so. Okay, Arya. Arya's nominated me. I nominate Arya back. Arya, are you able to make a
Yeah.
go ahead?
My, my dear Radha Giridhari, if you so desire, please make this session successful and amazing. Thank you for considering my request. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Arya. And just anyone here for the first time? I think Sahasra, I think you're joining us for the first time.
Hi Krishna, yes, I am joining for the first time.
Where are you joining us from?
I'm joining from Richmond, Virginia.
And you said you heard about it from a few members there?
Yeah, Lokesh joined it, I think, and then
Okay.
other kids from other congregations were talking about it, so.
Arya, welcome. Madhav, thank you for joining. Welcome. We're just getting started. We just had our prayers, so maybe we'll dive right into our chat for today. Um, Anyone know what chapter we're on? Pop quiz? See, I see you thinking.
I wasn't able to join last week, so I completely forgot at that time.
No worries. We're on chapter 7 for Chad. So I'll start us off and we can all raise our hands and we'll do maybe 4 verses each. We'll do Sanskrit and English translation.
I have a question. Since me and Arya are joining together, do both of us just say 4 slokas each?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, I can start us off and then Ritvik and Arya, you all can take us over. Okay. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Maya Saktamana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashraya Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yata Gnasyasi Tachrinu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Now hear, O Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, your mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshamya yajnatva neha bhuyonyaj yatavyam avashishyate. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. Manusyanam sahasreshu kashchid yadati siddhaye yadadamapi siddhanam kashchin mam vedi tattvataha. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Bhumirapo nalo vayu kammano buddhireva cha ahankara iti yamme pinna prakritirashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies.
अपरेयमितस्त्वन्यां प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे परां जीवभूता महाबाहो ययेदं धार्यते जगत्. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another, superior energy of mine, which compromises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. एतद्योनीनि भूतानि सर्वाणीत्युपधारय अहं कृत्स्नस्य जगतः प्रभवः प्रलयस्तथा. All created beings have their source in these two natures, of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world. Know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. मत्तः परतरं नान्यत् किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोतं सूत्रे मणिगणा इव. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me, as pearls are strung on a thread. Rasohamapsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashi suryayoh parnavas sarvavedeshu shabdah ke parusham rishu. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man.
पुण्यगन्धपृथिव्यां च तेजश्चास्मि विभावसौ जीवनं सर्वभूतेषु तपश्चास्मि तपस्विषु. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penitences of all aesthetics. बीजं मां सर्वभूतानां विद्धि पार्थ सनातनं बुद्धिमताम् अस्मि तेजस्विनामहम्. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. बलं बलवतां चाहं कामरागविवर्जितं धर्माविरुद्धो भूतेषु कामोऽस्मि भरतर्षभ. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna. यचैव सात्विका भावा राजसास्तामसाश्च ये मत्त एवेति तान् विद्धि न त्वहं तेषु ते मयि. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. And I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me.
त्रिभे गुणमयैर्भावे एवे सर्वम् इदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानति मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्. Deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. देवी एषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मयमेतं तरन्ति ते. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Namam dushkritino mutta prapadyante naradama mayaya parita jnana asuram bhavam ashrita. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, or lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Chaturvidya bhajante mam ज्ञानं सुकृतिनो रजुना आर्तो जिज्ञासुरर्तार्ति ज्ञानी च भारतर्षभा. O best among the Bharatas, four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for the knowledge of the Absolute.
तेषं ज्ञानि नित्ययुक्तः एकभक्तिर्विशिष्यते प्रियो हि ज्ञानिनोत्यर्थम् अहं स च मम प्रियः. Of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him, and he is dear to me. उदाराः सर्व एवैते ज्ञानित्वात्मैव मे मतम् आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा मामेवानुत्तमां गतिम्. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he is who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. Bahunam janmanam mante jnanavan mam prapajyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sadurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. कामस्तैस्थिरतज्ञाना प्रपद्यन्ते न्यदेवताः तं तं नियममास्थाय प्रकृत्या नियता स्वया. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktah shraddhaya chitamichhati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tam eva vidadhamyaham. I am in everyone's heart as a supersoul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his fate steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Satya Shrataya Yuktastasya Radhanamihate Labhate cha tatha kaman mayaiva vihitan hitan. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires, but in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavatyalpamedasam devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Avyaktyam yaktim apannam manyante mam abuddhayah param bhavam ajananto mamavyayam anuttamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritah muro yam nabijanati loko mam ajam avyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjana bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu veda na kashtana. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am everything. I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. Ichchadvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarvabhutani sammoham sargayanti parantapa. O scion of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, O all living entities born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridavritah. Persons who have acted piously in previous life and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are free from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Jara marana mokshaya mamashritya yatanti ye te brahma tadvidu kritsnam adhyatmam karma chakilam. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Sadhi bhutadi daivam mam sadhi yajnam cha ye viduhu prayana kale picha mam te vidu yukta chetasaha. Those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. Om Tat Sat Chit Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Jnana Vijnana Yoga Nama Saptamodhyayaha. Hari Om. All right. We can do some discussion, and I was thinking maybe we can choose a verse. Any of you want to hear a particular purport, maybe?
Can we hear the purport for 7.4? I think it's a very important verse and it comes up a lot in Guru Maharaj's talks.
Yeah. Do you already know a little about it?
Yeah. I had to memorize it a while ago.
What does it mean?
I forgot I think it's talking about the earth, fire, water, air, that verse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
ether.
Yes, you're right. Let me share my screen. Ritik, you want to read it?
Yeah, sure. भूमिरापो नलो वायुः कम्मनो बुद्धिरेव च अहङ्कार इति यं मे भिन्ना प्रकृतिरष्टदा.
Go ahead. You can read the translation and purport.
Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these eight constitute my separate material energies. The science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and his diverse energies. Material nature is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord, in his different Purusha incarnations, expansions, as described in the Narada Panchayata, one of the seven Sattva Tantras. विनोषस्तु त्रीणि रूपाणि पुरुषस्यानि अथो विदुः एकं तु महतः स्रष्टेर् द्वितीयं त्वय्यनन्तसंस्थितं तृतीयं सर्वभूतस्थं तानि ज्ञात्वा विमुच्यते. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes three Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy, known as the Mahatattva. The second, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each one. The third, Shirodika Sai Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading supersoul in all the universes and is known as the Paramatma. He is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these three Vishnus can be liberated from the material entanglement. Arya, do you want to read the rest?
From where?
From here, this material world.
This material world is a temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. All the activities of the material world are directed by these three Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. These Purushas are called incarnations. Generally, one who does not know the science of God, Krishna, assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities and that the living entities are the Purushas, the causes, controllers, and enjoyers of the material world energy. According to the Bhagavad Gita, this aesthetic conclusion is false. In the verse under discussion, it is stated that Krishna is the original cause of the material manifestation. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this. The ingredients of the material manifestations are separated energies of the Lord. Even the Brahma Jyotir, which is the unlimited goal of the impersonalist, is a spiritual energy manifested in the spiritual state. There are no spiritual diversities in the Brahma Jyotir as there are in the Vaikuntha Lokas, and the impersonalists accept this Brahma Jyotir as the ultimate eternal goal. The Paramatma manifestation is also a temporarily all pervasive aspect of the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. The Paramatma manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual world. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He is the complete energetic person, and he possesses different separated and internal energies. Do you want to read from
Where?
from this?
In the material energy, the principal manifestations are eight, as above mentioned. Out of these, the first five manifestations, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, are called the five gigantic creations, or the gross creations, within which the five sense objects are included. They are the manifestations of physical sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Material science comprises these 10 items and nothing more. But the other three items, namely mind, intelligence, and false ego, are neglected by the materialists. Philosophers who deal with mental activities are also not perfect in knowledge because they do not know the ultimate source, Krishna, the false ego, I am, and it is not mine, which constitute the basic principle of material existence, includes the 10 sense organs for material activities. Energy. Intelligence refers to the total material creation called the Mahatattva. Therefore, from the eight separated energies of the Lord are manifest energies of the Lord are manifest the 24 elements of the material world, which are the subject matter of Sankhya atheistic philosophy. They are originally offshoots from Krishna's energies and are separated from him, but subject matter for discussion in the Sankhya philosophy is only the manifestation of the external energy of Krishna, as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita.
Thank you. Anybody want to summarize what they heard, anything that stuck with them? Yeah, Sia, go ahead.
I think today, like when I was reading Bhagavatam with my friends, also there was a shloka, in First Canto, seventh chapter, and it talks a lot about the different energies, internal energy and external energy, and it also kind of related to talking about this, and also later shloka in Bhagavad Gita,
and like a really nice point was made up that like although Krishna like although Krishna's the controller, it's not like he's wanting us to go through all of this, but just like how a father sometimes sends us to like a strict man so that we ultimately come back to him and like serve him in the same way Krishna is letting Maya do her work. So I really like that point.
Yeah. I heard this example that if a little child goes to the shopkeeper asking for candy, the shopkeeper will instantly give the candy because his interest is getting money, and it's kind of like a um, you give me money, I'll give you candy. But then if that same child goes to his father to get candy, the father won't give candy that easily because um, it's not good for the child's health. So it was comparing like demigod worship to asking Krishna. So like demigods are appointed by Krishna because for that reciprocatory nature of you perform something for demigods and then they're actually obliged to give that boon because Krishna has assigned them to that specific position. But then if you go to Krishna, that's why Krishna tests us. Like you said. Um, so yeah, that was something I was thinking of. And I liked how scientific this purport was, trying to explain different principles and things that come together in Krishna's energy. Anybody else want to say something? We can maybe if you can think of like another verse, we could play that kind of game. Any verse that comes to your mind. I think Marge calls it like a shloka web. You have connecting. So I have to think too. Hmm. Hmm. I was wondering if you all related with this sentence. This caught my attention too, where it says, um, generally, one who does not know the science of God assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities, and that the living entities are the Purushas, the causes, controllers, and enjoyer of the material energy. According to Bhagavad Gita, this atheistic conclusion is false. And I found it humorous that Prabhupada said atheistic conclusion. Technically, spiritual people could be called atheists if they think like this. And a verse I was thinking about is from the Gita, where it says, Bhuktaram Yagita Pasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam. Oh, I think my connection was a little bad. Yeah, but I was thinking of that verse because it talks about how Krishna is the maintainer and he is the enjoyer and he's our dear friend. And kind of parallel to this, someone who does not know that science, that Krishna is all of that, they're thinking that this is all for me, like I am the enjoyer. And a lot of pain that we might even like suffer is because we're identifying with that object. It's just like if your car is scratched, you're suffering because you to some extent attach that identity, your identity is attached to having that particular car, things like that. So that's what I was thinking of. Sastra, I know you're outside. Madhav, are you there? You want to share something? You're just on Zoom. All right. Oh, go ahead.
Um, yeah, I was reading today in Srimad Bhagavatam actually. It's kind of related that although all of us as souls are originally transcendental to all the modes of material nature, we're covered by Maya because we're covered by the modes of material nature. I think it's the seventh chapter of the first canto, and it was in the purports.
Nice. Seems like you, Sia, and some others have the same reading group. Nice. That's awesome. If you guys find the verse, let me know. It'll be nice to look at. Um, oh yeah, Sia.
I was just thinking of that point that you made about like the whole analogy with the candy. And like although like you implied as well, like I think it just like really talks about like that's why it's demigod worship for us is just so like condemned because like we're asking for things that we're gonna get attached to and then things that we don't even know if they're ultimately gonna be good for us. And like when we're worshiping Krishna, Krishna knows, so then it's like if we're asking Krishna for something we're not getting it, it doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
it's a really like it brings a new light to like oh like you don't have to worry about anything when you're worshiping Krishna compared to all of these other ways of worship. So I
Mhm.
really like that point.
Yeah, yeah. I like the candy example because, like you said, the candy, it's like you're getting it's not good for you, but you're not realizing that. But Krishna knows us, so he's like, okay, it's not good for you, so you're not getting it. And yeah, this chapter talks has a few points about demigod worship. I was wondering what you guys thought about that. Because in some of the verses it says, "Oh, I make their faith steady, so that they can devote themselves to that particular deity." I think it's um, let me try to search it up. Yeah, this one. What was your reaction? What was the yeah, so yeah, go
I think like when I
ahead.
first did read that, like when I was reading Bhagavad Gita last year, I was like really confused.
Mhm.
Talked to like other people about that verse and like my like very basic understanding is just that like oh Krishna is not like controlling like we still have that free like we're still like free from him, and then we have like if Krishna is just our well wisher, so if we want to be worshiping some other deity then he'll let us worship it and then we'll suffer those consequences or whatever and then we'll come back to him, but like it's not like Krishna's gonna be like controlling him like oh you have to worship me, so that's what I understood.
Nice. Yeah, he's not controlling. I just see the first point. God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as Super Soul in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. Hmm.
I think this also like brings up like another thing that I was thinking about.
Mhm.
Like if we didn't have Prabhupada's portraits, we would read that and be like very confused. I think like it just shows how like I'm like eternally grateful that Prabhupada has written this for us so that we can like actually understand. There's so many verses that like I'm just like confused by the translation, but the a lot.
Yeah, yeah, you're so right. And they're so helpful. They dig deeper, and you can tell Prabhupada's mood is so bhakti, love and service, and every purport he makes. He starts from the beginning. He says the conclusion in the beginning of the Gita. It's actually crazy. Um, and I heard the actual Bhagavad Gita is like maybe this much, but Bhagavad Gita as it is like a little thicker because Prabhupada has its purports that are very helpful. Okay. I was thinking we could discuss a verse from this chapter. I had some discussion questions, but we can discuss as well. But just this one. So this is 7.18. Madhav, would you be willing to read the verse and translation?
Sure. Could you zoom in a bit?
Yeah, sure. Is this better?
Yeah. Um,
Okay.
उदार सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी त्वात्मैव मे मतम् आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा माम् एवानुत्तमं गतिम्.
Is it too small for you or the translation's okay?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me I consider to be just like my own self, Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal.
I can read a little bit of the purport.
Sure.
Okay. A purport. It is not that devotees who are less complete in knowledge are not dear to the Lord. The Lord says that all are magnanimous because anyone who comes to the Lord for any purpose is called a Mahatma, or great soul. The devotees who want some benefit out of devotional service are accepted by the Lord because there is an exchange of affection. Out of affection, they ask the Lord for some material benefit. And when they get it, they become so satisfied that they also advance in devotional service. But the devotee in full knowledge is considered to be very dear to the Lord, because his only purpose is to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. Such a devotee cannot live a second without contacting or serving the Supreme Lord. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is very fond of his devotee and cannot be separated from him. In Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.68, the Lord says, Sadhavo hridayam mayam, sadhinam hridayam tvaham, madanyate na jananti, ne naham tebhyo managapi. The devotees are always in my heart, and I am always in the heart of the devotees. The devotee does not know anything beyond me, and I also cannot forget the devotee. There is a very intimate relationship between me and the pure devotees. Pure devotees in full knowledge are never out of spiritual touch, and therefore they are very much dear to me.
Is it possible to scroll back up to the translation real quick?
It is good? Okay. Yeah, so the context is that in the previous verse, Krishna is talking about four kinds of people that come to him. And one of them is distressed, one searching for knowledge. Let me try to find it. Yeah. Okay. The inquisitive, the distressed, the seeker after material ameliorate. My God, I can't say that word. Does someone know how to say this? Ameli amelioration. Maybe that's my guess. Maybe we'll search it up and put it in the chat soon. Okay. The seeker after material amelioration and the man in knowledge all become themselves pure. Okay. So in this previous verse, Krishna is talking about four people that come to him, four different kinds of people. And then Krishna is saying, although they are undoubtedly magnanimous, someone who's situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. So I guess what does Krishna mean by consider to be just like my own self? Oh, that's a pretty big statement. I was wondering what you all thought about that, or anything that maybe you're confused about. Oh, welcome, Tarni, Radha, and Rian. Nice to see you both on the call. Rian, we saw you for 2 seconds. Where'd you go? Okay, maybe he'll come back. Haribol, how are you?
Good.
Good. Well, we're just reading this verse, and yeah, feel free to jump in whenever you want to talk. Oh yeah, Sia, go ahead.
I was just thinking like the purport, like how it says, like I feel like this whole purport it really talks about like there's some points that I don't know which exact verse it is, but he says that like I'm not in like I love everyone equally, but like my devotees I'm very like fond of. Like there's another verse in the Gita like that. But so like sorry, I can't phrase this right, but like basically when I first read that verse, I was like very confused because like you know how people say, how is Krishna impartial but at the same time like he's partial to devotees. But like in this purport it also talks about how like devotees like they're able to get more benefit out of like Krishna's love and like they're able to have more reciprocation with Krishna's love because they're reciprocating with what Krishna's giving. So I feel like both of those, I don't remember the exact shloka, but like they both connect to each other in that way.
Yeah, that was helpful. I think it was, just remembered, it was ninth chapter. I think I'm looking. 929. Maybe let's look at that. We'll maybe find something. Oh, not that. Okay. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I'm equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. That was really sweet. So I guess here I consider it to be just like my own self, very dear to Krishna if he's considering us to be just like him. That's such a big statement. And also what you said, Sia, about the partiality, like Krishna is not partial towards anyone, but he has special affection for his devotees. And today I heard in a class that it's like a mother, and when a child is crying, the mother pays more attention to that child. If a mom has two kids and one of them is crying, it's not that she's impartial to the other child, but that she picks up that child who's crying and it's like, Mom, like, help me, I'm helpless. So she has special affection for him in that way. So similarly, Krishna has special affection for his devotees. Um, and then one question I was thinking about is what makes love selfless? So we have different kinds of friendship in our lives. You know, one may be that we just want someone else's company, and one is maybe based on just receiving favors, maybe. Um, so how can one practice bhakti so that it becomes a relationship and that friendship is not simply uh kind of like a transaction, something deeper? And yeah, maybe we can reflect on our own friendships and what makes it really selfless when we come together. So yeah, that was one question. I was thinking about how in Rupa Goswami's not Shikshashtakam, in NOI, he talks about six loving exchanges, and one of them is giving gifts, which I always found really interesting. If you guys have seen the Nectar of Instruction, it talks about six loving exchanges, and that was so sweet to me, and I felt like that was so selfless, just being part of that loving exchange, like giving gifts to devotees and having prasadam with them, feeding prasadam. Yeah. Oh, Sia, did you get the question? I just saw your message in the chat. Or was it before?
No, it was like just now, like when you were saying it, half of it was glitching out. So could you like,
Okay. No worries. Yeah. And have you guys ever felt that it's wrong to pray for material needs? Or y'all are pretty situated? Tarni says yes. Okay. You mean it's wrong to pray or um
No, I'm just saying sometimes I feel like sometimes I kind of tend to forget that rather like because Krishna always wants us to be dependent on him because we're not independent. We are dependent on him.
mm,
And it's our egos that aren't letting us accept that. So sometimes I forget, like we're told not to worry about materialistic things, right? So sometimes I forget that if I'm struggling with something that isn't necessarily spiritual and is
mm,
pretty material, I should I should turn to Krishna rather than just like trying to figure it out myself, because it's better to turn to Krishna even for material things than it is to not.
Nice. And this is clearly exactly this verse that we were looking at. Let me go back to it. Yeah, Krishna's talking about all these poor people, and how they're so protected in devotional service. No, nice. Yeah, yeah. We forget that we can approach Krishna and we can even offer that stress. Like, one question someone was asking in a class that I was listening to. So, they said that, I have all these thoughts when I chant and they're disturbing me from chanting. So what do I do with those thoughts? But then they said that chanting helps me process my emotions. So it's kind of like if I'm disturbed about something, I turn to chanting and it's like a shelter. So is that wrong to do? If I'm thinking about it. It was a very interesting question. And the speaker answered it by saying that you can offer that emotion to Krishna. And as long as it's not something that you're like maybe a to-do list and things like that. If it's like an emotion of Krishna, I'm really struggling. Like, please help me understand this aspect of my life. This is where I'm at. You offer that emotion to Krishna too. And like even, we have so many maybe material problems and things like that. So we can offer that to Krishna in our chanting too. That was helpful. Tarni Radha, where are you located?
I live in North Carolina and I'm part of the New Golaka Dham community.
Oh, sweet. So you must know Shweta Manjari and all those
Yeah, I'm friends with all of them, all the sisters and
Advaita.
Advaita Chopra.
Nice. To tell them to join you, Jam. We haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's summer, so they should be able to join. I don't know. I'll tell them.
Yeah. Sia?
Yeah, I was just thinking with that like reflection that you had with like that japa reflection. Another thing with like offering our thoughts to Krishna and offering our emotions to Krishna. Like I don't remember who said it, but in Japa Jo, like there was one reflection at the end that like really stuck with me with how someone was talking about how like during my japa I tend to remember a lot of things, like oh like things that I have to do later in the day, and but then that person thought of the verse that like oh from me comes forgetfulness and also like what was that. It was
Remembrance.
like, yeah, so he was talking that like oh like it's okay, like I'll just offer it to Krishna and then if Krishna wants me to remember it later then it'll come up, like I shouldn't like stop my mala to like write it, like I'll just like keep it later and
Uh-huh.
focus on mala. So I really like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Maharaj has also given this tip that if it's really something that's on your mind, sometimes having like a little notebook, notepad, and you just write it down and put it aside and then go back to your chanting because it's like it's out of your system, kind of. You take it out of your system and then chant. So if that's something you're like, a lot is on my mind, I just like write it down and then I continue. Okay. Maybe let's read some Lilamrita for a bit and then we could do some reflections later. Um, Let me put it up. Okay. I'll do 3 paragraphs and then you all can raise your hand like that or with the feature. Okay. Dan had come to the park today looking for the Swami and the chanting he had read about in the East Village Other. He had seen the Swami before one evening a few months back. He had been waiting for a bus across the street from the Swami's storefront. He was on the way to a rehearsal for a mixed media show, and his friend had gone into Sam's luncheonette for a moment when he noticed that in the storefront an orange-robed Indian man with a shaved head was lecturing to a small group of young people. Dan. When I saw him, I imagined myself walking across the street, going into the storefront, sitting down, and renouncing all worldly connections. But I thought to myself, it's only my imagination. After all, I'm married and I'm on my way to rehearsal, and I don't know anything about the Swami anyway. So my friend and I got on the bus. But Dan lived only a few blocks away from the storefront, and now and then he would pass by. Once he had stood for several minutes on the sidewalk, looking at the cover of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavatam taped onto the window. Dan, it showed an oval lotus with planets around it, and right then I was introduced to the idea of spiritual sensuality. And when I saw the painting of Lord Chaitanya and his associates in the window, that really threw me. I thought, yes, this is what I need. Juice.
Dan and his wife walked the paved pathway through the park. He was looking around for the Swami, but he didn't really know what to look for. He expected to see robes and hear Buddhist-style chanting, but he couldn't find anything. He had given up his search and was wandering around to see what musicians were there when he noticed a big crowd gathered around what he figured must have been some musicians. He was attracted by the beat of their music, a chiming 1-2-3, 1-2-3, a simple rhythm with a kind of flamboyance, and very magnetic. He saw an occasional upraised arm above the crowd, and he thought there must be flamenco dancing going around inside the circle. Then he got wind of a drifting melody, certainly not flamenco, which accompanied the beat, and this attracted him further. He approached closer and closer, making his way through the crowd. Then he saw people chanting and others dancing and waving their arms in what he took to be a blend of American Indian and Asian dancing. It looked like something from a long forgotten era. Dan decided that this must be the Hare Krishna group, but there were no robes, just a regular dress of the Lower East Side. And where was the Swami? Then he saw him sitting, inconspicuous, playing a little drum. His eyes were closed and his brow was knit with concentration.
Dan, the Swami wasn't calling attention to himself, and at first I didn't attribute any importance to an elderly Indian man sitting off to one side. He didn't seem to have any special function in the chanting, but it gradually dawned on me who he was. He was the same Swami I had read about in the paper and seen in the storefront. How many paragraphs do I read? After a while he spoke, but I couldn't hear him. Still, I was impressed that he was a very modest person, not interested in getting himself up on a pedestal. He didn't go strutting around, but was with inner peace, strength, and knowledge. Bob. All his disciples were around his feet. They were chanting. I tried to chant along and learn the mantra too. I had heard the chanting of Hare Krishna once before at a peace march, and I had found it very beautiful. Then the Swami spoke. I had the impression that this person was not earthly, and I thought, here is the person I'm looking for. He seemed to be different from anyone else, like he came from another place or universe. I was attracted.
After a second kirtan, the Swami and his followers rolled up their rug, picked up their instruments, and began to leave. Bob walked back to the swings on the other side of the park to find his wife and child, but the image of the Swami stayed with him. He seemed different than anyone else. His accent had been thick, yet Bob resolved to go to the storefront in a few days to hear him speak. Here is a leader, thought Bob. Dan and his wife sauntered off into the park, sampling the various groups of musicians. His wife was surprised that Dan, who was usually shy, had danced at the kirtan. He said he might go over to the storefront one day and hear the Swami speak. Judy just stood there hallucinating. She held a Stay High Forever pamphlet in her hand and read it over and over and over. While she was thinking the whole event must have come from another planet, a man walked up and asked, "Would you like to go where the Swami is?" She nodded. At the storefront, one of the devotees offered Judy some prasadam, a chapati, and then invited her up to the Swami's room. Upstairs, she entered the large front room, which was filled with fragrant smoke. There were tall flower vases, and sesame seeds were on the floor. She saw the Swami bow before the little picture of Lord Chaitanya and his associates, and then stand and leave the room. Closing the door behind him, Judy decided that he must have been bowing to the floor itself. Around her, everyone was softly chanting on beads, and although she couldn't make out the words, it seemed peaceful. One of the Swami's disciples told her she could come into the back room, and she followed, curious. The Swami was sitting there on his mat, looking effulgent. There were about 10 other people in the room. Prabhupada asked her if she liked the chanting in the park, and she replied, "I loved it." "Do you live near here?" he asked. Judy flashed on her idea that she was the all-pervading truth, and answered in a way she thought must have sounded very mystical. "Oh, I live very near." "Good," said Swamiji. "Then you can come for our morning kirtan and class." Then she realized that she didn't live so near, and that it would mean traveling an hour and a half from Bronx to visit the Swami. But she decided that since he had asked her, she would come. Then she thought, "I'm making this up." But Prabhupada assured her, as if knowing her thoughts, "This process is nothing you have made up. It is very old, very simple, and sublime." He leaned back. "We are eternal," he said, "and everything around us is temporary." Judy was now coming down from the LSD. By the time she left the Swami and it was late, she had wanted to stay overnight, but the boys hadn't allowed her. But she was determined to join. For Bob, it seemed natural to follow up on what he had seen in the park. He began attending the evening classes, and he started reading the Bhagavatam at home and chanting. He framed the picture from the Bhagavatam dust jacket depicting the spiritual sky and placed it on his small homemade altar. He would offer flowers before the picture and sit before it chanting Hare Krishna. Bob was fascinated by the philosophy and the books and classes, and from the very beginning he was amazed that Swamiji's teachings answered all his questions. He listened carefully and accepted. It seemed like once I decided that he was telling the truth. I just accepted everything he said. Not that part of it was the truth and the rest of it I would have to think about. October 19th. It was Monday evening after the Sunday kirtan in the park, and Dan arrived at the storefront for a kirtan. The kirtan was in full swing, and when he entered, the first thing he noticed was some people playing on the innards of an upright piano leaning against the wall near the door. A boy handed him some wooden sticks, and he sat down and joined in the kirtan. Then came the Swami's lecture, which Dan thought was long and serious, about how sexual desire causes bondage and suffering. The temple was crowded and stuffy, and Dan was shocked by the lecture, but he stayed on because he knew there would be another kirtan. He felt uneasy that the Swami's followers were all celibate, but because he liked the kirtan, he resolved to keep coming. The Swami wasn't quite what Dan had expected. He had imagined something of a light-hearted Zen Roshi, laughing and joking, with sparkling eyes and words filled with paradoxes. But he found the Swami just the opposite, very straightforward and even cutting in his speech, and his mouth turned down at the corners, making him look mournful. Dan happily took to the kirtans, thinking they would aid his impersonal meditation, but the lectures kept stressing that God was a person. Dan resisted. He mentally debated with Prabhupada. He was partial to Dr. Radhakrishnan's interpretation of the Gita, and yet the Swami often launched ruthless attacks against such impersonal ideas. Gradually, Dan saw his impersonal barrier crumble, and he came to admit that on every count the Swami was right. Judy began attending both the morning and evening classes. She had to rise by 5 o'clock to get to the storefront on time, and her mother and father protested. But Judy didn't care. She would ride an hour and a half on the subway before dawn downtown to the Swami's meetings, where she would be the only girl present. When the Swami heard that Judy was an art student, he asked her to paint for Krishna. She set up a canvas in the front room of the apartment, and under his guidance, she began painting. For her first assignment, he asked her to paint a portrait of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He gave her a photo and instructed her. There should be a flower garland around Guru Maharaj's neck. The tilak should be yellowish, not white, and there should be no effulgence or halo around his head. Bob. I began chanting and studying the Srimad Bhagavatam at home and attending the kirtan and classes at the storefront. After the last kirtan in the evening, the Swami would take a bowl made of simulated wood and a little paring knife and a couple of apples that had been sitting on the edge of his lectern, and he would cut the apples up in the little bowl and hand the bowl to a disciple. The disciple would then offer him the first piece, and he would pop it into his mouth. The rest of the pieces of apple would be distributed to the crowd. I remember one time when he was chewing on his piece of apple and he spit the seeds out on the floor up against the wall. They bounced off the wall onto the floor next to the dice. And I was thinking, how wonderful. No one else can do that. No one else would have the nerve to do such a thing. With his aesthetic filmmaker's eye, Dan appreciated Swamiji's manner. Dan, there was a sink right next to the dais where he sat. It was so close that he could have leaned over and touched it. After cutting up an apple, he would take the scraps and just fling them into the sink. It was very casual. I was very impressed by that. And one time, Brahmananda came up and wanted 50 cents for something. And the Swami reached down and picked up his little black purse, the kind that closes by a metal clasp at the top. He snapped it open, looked inside very perspicaciously, and then his hand came up like a bird, like an eagle hovering in flight above its prey. But the hand didn't pounce. It just delicately piece and rose up again as if it were being lifted up on a balloon. It was graceful. It was a dance, a ballet. He just picked up his 50-cent piece and lifted it into Ramananda's hand. I couldn't believe it. Someone asks you for a 50-cent piece, you just dig in your pockets and throw it at them. But the Swami seemed to treat everything as Krishna's property. And this 50-cent piece was treated with such care. The weeks went by. Some of the devotees had spoken to Bob about initiation, but he was unsure. He didn't know exactly what initiation was. But it seemed to him that the other devotees were eager to get him initiated because he was working and had a family. To Bob's way of thinking, he represented maturity to them, a middle-class American, and they were eager to land him. Bob's wife wasn't interested, and his friends were downright opposed. He couldn't spend much time with Prabhupada or the devotees, since he was either at the office or at home with his family. Bob, so they were asking me if I was interested in initiation. I said I would think about it. I hadn't stopped smoking. I hadn't made the final decision. The first real personal exchange I had with the Swami was when I asked for initiation. The rest of the time, I was so much in awe of him that it didn't occur to me to say anything. I always wanted to. I felt puffed up, and I always thought, well, I should be able to talk to him. Maybe I should do something. But I was always kind of reluctant to do it. I didn't think it was my place. I guess maybe I was afraid. But I was getting up early and chanting 32 rounds a day, many of them on the subway. I was afraid of the material world because I didn't have much association with devotees, and I wanted to insulate myself by chanting more. Okay, we will stop here. And anyone want to share something that stuck out to them, or just the experience of reading Prabhupada Lilamrita? Yeah, Tarini, Radha.
So, I'm kind of in awe right now because last weekend I went to New York. Well, actually, I stayed in New Jersey, but I went to New York for the 60th anniversary celebration. And I firsthand listened to all the Prabhupada disciples talking about these exact things. Like Judy, the person who painted those paintings,
Yeah,
she becomes Jadurani Devi Dasi,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
Jadurani.
that day I was driving from North Carolina to New Jersey, so I didn't get to be at 26 Second Avenue on that day, but the rest of the days on, I think, Friday and Saturday, I went and I was like listening to this. So at the time, I was obviously like shocked, not shocked, but like I was like reverent and all of that. But now listening to this again, it's like, wow, I heard firsthand these people that are in this book, and they go by a different name. That now they're senior Vaishnavas. They're so much older now. Like it's just kind of so shocking, because like I now I'm able to like properly appreciate what they were saying, because she was talking about in the live stream I listened, and she was talking about painting those the things that are in Matchless Gifts right now. There's a Panchatattva painting, a painting of Prabhupada, and so I'm just like really kind of grateful that we have this opportunity to meet with Vaishnavas from across the country, sometimes across the globe, for different events, right? And similarly, this event that happened at 26 Second Avenue, I was there, and like hearing this, like the opportunity that we got because Satsarup Maharaj wrote the Lilamrit, just like how much we're able to really get because of how much effort these Prabhupada disciples have put in, and how much effort obviously Prabhupada himself put into this Krishna consciousness movement. So that's like really awe-inspiring. And also I was laughing out loud at the flamenco thing because he thought it was like when he was saying like I thought it was flamenco or something. I actually started laughing out loud because that was just like really funny, because the I've heard multiple times like Prabhupada disciples like talking about that time, and they're like, oh, I had no idea what was going on. And they were also during the weekend, they were talking about how many of them had like that impersonal um thought process, like they had that impersonal beliefs and thinking they were all pervading and all of that, and once again repeated in the book. And so how they didn't understand a single thing about this culture and had a lot of misinterpretations and all that. I just find it really funny, and also kind of like I'm grateful that they were here to teach us their mistakes and how not to repeat it. And like I'm just like really grateful, and yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, such a surreal experience hearing personally all these stories, and it kind of puts the puzzle together, right? Because you hear about these devotees and then you see them in person. It's just like, wow, you're real. Like you saw Prabhupada, you said all these things, like you're the Judy they're talking about.
Exactly. I just like when so I didn't know Judy became Jadurani Devi, but I like while you were reading this, I was listening, and you said like, "Oh, Judy, he Prabhupada asked her to paint these things," and I was like, "Wait, is she
Yeah,
Radharani?" So then I just like Google searched it, and it turns out she is. So I was like, "Wow, this is like so like crazy."
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is yeah, very crazy. Even Bob, I think, becomes I forget, but I think they also take initiation. Maybe we'll find out next week the story of Bob
Yeah,
and
maybe he becomes
Judy.
Brahmanand, I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm forgetting the name. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing. I also, um, in one point, I think it was Bob that or Dan that they were saying that I trusted Prabhupada completely. It wasn't just that I trusted him on one thing, but it was like everything that I yeah. And then he said he came to admit that on every account the Swami was right. Yeah, it was Dan. Yeah, he said he mentally debated with Prabhupada, and then gradually Dan saw his impersonal barrier crumble, and he came to admit that on every account the Swami was right. It's crazy.
Yeah, I hope to have that sort of faith in Prabhupada's words one day because they were just like completely just accepted it, and I want to be able to accept things like that,
Yeah,
and rather than having my ego like block things out.
yeah, it's magical how much we can open our heart to mercy and understanding if we just take that false ego out of the picture, you know? Like be like, Krishna, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's good for me, but I have faith in this process. So, yeah. What about you, Sia and Madhav? Anything?
So I think there was one paragraph earlier that was talking about someone who, like, once he started believing that whatever Prabhupada was saying true, everything started making sense, and then he started believing everything was true, and then that's how his Krishna conscious journey began.
Yeah.
And like it reminds me of like the whole like path of bhakti like starts with shraddha, so it starts with faith. So it's like having faith in Guru, having faith in scriptures is what starts you to have like that sadhu sangha, and then all the rest of the paths of bhakti. That paragraph really stuck with me. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Sia. Um, I hadn't. Oh, I remember he was saying that I came just for the kirtan, even though I didn't like something. Let me try to find
He
it.
said he didn't like the classes because they were going against his impersonal beliefs.
Yes, yes, you're right, Tiny. But then he just came for the kirtan. And I was thinking, wow, this whole movement is just started because of kirtan, and a lot of it continued because of Sankirtan and the potency of just Krishna's name being sung in that way. Yeah.
And it also like goes, then it like it shows like Prabhupada sees this happening, and it's like that's why he emphasizes like in every program there should be prasadam and there should be kirtan, like the prasadam for sure, like so we can see like, oh, like because of these things people come in
Mm.
initially, they start that whole process.
Yeah. The ultimate love feast formula. Prashadam Kirtan Association. Never fails, always works. Yeah. All right. I did have an announcement to make for next week, but any reflections that you all want to share before what's going on in life? Anything that you're not liking, you're loving, you're a little salty about?
I'd just like to share one quick thing. It's kind of old news,
Okay.
but a few weeks ago, so I haven't been able to join Youth Jam in the last few weeks, maybe like a month, because I've been pretty busy since summer started. So as you might know, our temple hosted Rasa Chintamani, and so I helped with the service for like a couple weeks, and so I wasn't able to join. But that service just made me that opportunity for service during, before, and during Rasa Chintamani. It just kind of made me really grateful because I think it's like the first time since I moved here a year ago, that I've had the proper opportunity to serve Radha Golokanand. And I think I personally feel that the being able to serve for so I went to the temple every day. It was my first week of summer break, and it was right before Rasa Chintamani. So I went to the temple every day for like 10 days ish. And it made me feel so much closer to the deities, and I feel like I established a much stronger relationship with them. So I'm very grateful for that. I was able to become more closer friends with the rest of the youth because of going there really often. And I just feel like really grateful that Radha Golokanand and my Gauranitai deities gave me the opportunity to do something like this now, because I'm able to spend time with other Vaishnavas, learn from them, and obviously learn from Gaurang Darshan Prabhu and Amarinda Prabhu. They're wonderful classes. If you guys did it or not, I'm not sure, but it was really awe-inspiring. It
That's
was really, like, I'm just grateful for that.
wow. We're grateful you shared that with us. Yeah, we heard about Rasa Chintamani. A few of my friends went to. It was nice to hear from someone who was there. What kind of service were you helping out with, Tarini?
So the youth handled the decoration, so I did a lot of that. We did the themes were Govardhan Leela and Brahma Vimohan Leela. Amrinder Prabhu spoke about Govardhan Leela, and Gaurang Darshan Prabhu spoke about Brahma Vimohan Leela. So
Okay.
for the Govardhan Leela aspect, we made large clouds, and they were really big, and it was really, really frustrating to make them because we had to like cut out huge pieces of cardboard and then stuff a lot of polyfill on them. And then we made raindrops too, so we had to attach those. And then we had like this one, there was like some we had this one moment of uncertainty, so we kind of cut off the raindrops from a lot of the clouds. And then in the end, Aditya Narayan Prabhu, the temple president, he was like, no, just you can keep the raindrops. So then we put them back on. And then so it was all of that. And then we put vines, we put the Shad Goswami and the Guru Parampara on this like side of the walls. I can't explain exactly unless you've seen the temple itself, like the Prabhupada hall. But and then the stage we decorated a lot. We made cutouts of Krishna lifting Govardhan and all the Brajvasis near his feet because they're all like below him, right? And a cutout of that. And they had a Govardhan from like dramas from a couple years ago, so that we kept that. And then during Brahma Vimohan Leela, we'd put a huge cutout of Krishna and all the Vishnus that are on him, of the Gopas that were Vishnu actually, right? Like I can't describe it, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So there's that cutout too. So I worked on those, and then another really big cloud for the stage, and then there was a small altar on the stage, like Chota Didis, because it's the Prabhupada. We have a Prabhupada hall, so the temple itself is pretty small. Have you guys been to Nigoloka, Tom?
But I don't think
No.
Sia have either, right? Yeah, we haven't been.
Okay, you guys should come. Come for next Rasa Chintamani. So we have like Chota Didis in the Prabhupada hall, which is where the thing was being held because there are too many people for the actual temple room. And
Mhm.
so that we decorated that altar, and so that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. You guys are so artistic.
It was all group effort.
Nice. Oh yeah, Sia said my friends who went said that the decorations were really pretty, especially the raindrop.
Really? Oh, tell her I said thank you.
Oh,
We
yeah,
put a
she
lot of work on it, so
Yeah, like I went to my friend's house and she was talking, and like her friend went to Rasa Chintamani, and
Mm.
like they were talking about like wow, like the decorations were on like the best this year, like they were so pretty.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, and like they were telling me so many stories of like what Gaurang Darshan Prabhu and Amarin Prabhu did, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I need to go to Rasa Chintamani at least once. Like it's so fun.
Yeah, it's like a mini sadhu sangha, honestly, and I'm like honored that it's happening at our temple. I'm like, wow, our temple's like relatively small compared to a lot of the ones that there are in this country. So I was just like, wow, this is so special. Like it's happening at our humble abode here at Radha humble abode. So it's like a mini sadhu sangha. It's much less expensive, much cheaper. It's like really cheap. So you guys should definitely come.
Wow, we have to visit.
Yeah.
Are you gonna make a backdrop just for us?
I mean, I don't know about that.
Okay.
But there should be videos. I think the video has it. Like I don't know if they've uploaded the videos yet. I don't think they have, but the videos from the classes, they should have like some snippets of that.
Mhm. Okay, that's exciting. Okay, well, I know we're almost done with you, Jem, but I wanted to give a little announcement for next week. So next week is Global Youth Book Distribution Day. This is our second annual Youth Book Distribution Day. It happened last year when we started it. So it's next weekend, July 25th to 26th. And we just have to touch the pavement. You don't have to distribute any books. Take a group of friends, devotees, youth, maybe take some elders to help you with going to the location, getting books and things like that. And let's distribute and do something for Mahaprabhu's mission. Marge will also be going out for book distribution here in ISKCON Silicon Valley, and he's encouraging every youth to go. And if you have questions or you want some help, I'll send a number that you can reach out to. But yeah, let's get excited. Even if you know any friends, doesn't matter if they stay with you or not, reach out to them. Hey, let's do this. And if you all are on social media, there's a Global Youth Book Distribution Instagram account. So you can tag them with your book distribution stories, or you can send pictures. Let me give this to this number. This is number of Halayuda Kripadas Prabhu. And he is organizing this initiative with another devotee for youth. So if you have any stories, inspiring pictures, please feel free to send this. And we're hoping to maybe make like a recap video of youth distributing books all over the country, state, etc. So yeah, that's all I had. Are you all planning to go out? What is the mood in your congregation right now? Yeah, and Madhav, you're ready?
Yeah, more than like playing the whole thing with like ISV. Some people from ISV are also coming, so we're gonna have
Yeah,
seminars and everything.
Hallelujah Prabhu is coming.
Yeah,
And
I'm so excited.
they both have joined Youth Jam before, maybe you all know them. But yeah. Tarani, what about you? Are you all going for book distribution or planning to?
I'm not sure. I kind of thought about it, but I'm kind of busy as of now because I have quite a few things going on because I have to go to New Jersey again for like a wedding and have to get prepared for that. So
Oh,
I have been like pretty busy lately. I haven't been able to discuss it with many people. But at Sadhu Sangha, someone came up to me about it and they were like advertising all this. And so I gave them my number and then I got text for it recently. Um, and they asked if I was gonna go, but I said likely not. But I'll reconsider it.
every week can be Youth Book Distribution Week. So whenever you have time, you can go
Yeah.
with your friends.
I'm also like a little bit scared of distributing because I used to do it a little bit
Huh?
before I moved. I lived in Atlanta. I did it a little bit in Indian stores and all of that, but I don't know. I think I've like become afraid of it since then.
You know what helps is go with someone who's not, and then your fear will go.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that.
Yeah, it'll be helpful. Okay, well, thank you all for sticking towards the end. I'm so grateful that you all stayed. I know a few people joined and dropped in between, but thank you for joining, and we'll see you all next week for Youth Jam. And
I hope everyone's week is wonderful and full of spiritual nourishment and fun with friends, and hopefully book distribution. Okay.